Hi, I'm Pam Hendrickson, #1 best-selling author and co-founder of Marketing Roadmap. Thanks so much for joining us in this free video series. I want to start by asking you a question. What would it be like if you could look directly into the mind of your ideal prospect with X-ray vision and see exactly what their biggest problems are? Imagine if you could deliver your message so clearly that it precisely addresses these problems. And how would it feel to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they would immediately respond to your message, your story, or your experience, that they would buy every book you write, every product you create, and every program you offer? And if you could do that, they'd be willing to pay you virtually any amount of money to have their problem solved. The great news is you're just a short video away from having that problem solved for good. In fact, not only are we going to give you the formula, we're going to show you how we use this very same recipe in our own business to double our sales and create a 7-figure result. This video series was designed to show you a new and unique strategy for making more money, working less, and finally getting rid of the overwhelm and frustration so many of us experience in business today. And after being in business for over 20 years myself and making just about every mistake you can imagine, I can tell you that being successful in business today, having the income, the impact, and the lifestyle you're looking for is possible for you. Yet chances are, if you're like me, somewhere along the way, the process became overwhelming and the path became unclear. The same things that were working in our businesses just a few years ago aren't getting the same results, and things just seem more complicated and less reliable than they used to be. See, you and I were taught early on that the way to have a successful life was to get an education, work at our job or career, and then retire to Florida. The only problem is that the world, the market, and more importantly, your goals and dreams have likely changed since then. I know mine have. In fact, I'm guessing you can relate that you're not planning to retire in the traditional way because you love what you do and you know you have a message, story, or experience that helps people. You don't want to settle. You have a higher standard for your life and you know there's a way to make a difference and make the money you want and need. The great news is that when you have a formula like the one we're going to show you, you can get paid a lot more, live the lifestyle that has incredible impact and a lot more fun and time off too. That's what this free video series is about. It's about you having both the income and the impact you deserve. It's about you being highly and appropriately compensated for the great work you're doing in the world and having the peace of mind that you know your message is truly making a difference. Along with my friend and business partner, Dr. Jeannie Hurlburt, who you'll meet in a moment, I'm going to show you the pathway to build and grow your income and impact the right way right now. But fair warning, we're going to do things a little bit differently. While many business gurus and coaches are more than happy to show you all of their big wins and successes, and then they kind of tuck away their failures over in the corner somewhere, we think it's important to be 100% transparent. Plus, you'll learn better that way too, which is why we're going to take you behind the curtain in our own businesses and show you what bombed, as well as the things that worked. That way, you can dramatically simplify your marketing, you can build more leads, and have more fun and freedom too. Specifically, you'll discover how to simply and effectively create your business around your life and not the other way around. That way you can enjoy the income without feeling like you have to be around to drive it all the time. We're going to show you how to cut to the chase and get in front of the customers you really want and how to get them excited to invest in your products and services. And perhaps most important, we'll reveal how to eliminate the frustration and overwhelm of feeling like you're wasting your time and energy on things that just don't work. If you're feeling stuck, if you're tired of banging your head against the wall, this series will be your emancipation. There are 4 keys, and we put them together for you in a step-by-step blueprint. The same things that Jeannie and I learned to get ourselves out of overwhelm into a place of positive cash flow, into a place of the fun and joy of having a business where we can spend more time with our families and have the impact we both desire. But let me assure you, it wasn't always this way. I'm here at Brown University, my college alma mater, because I wanted to take you behind the scenes in my own journey so you can shortcut some of the mistakes I had to learn the hard way. I came here because it's the perfect way to demonstrate what we need to be successful in our businesses, to have the lifestyle, the income, and the impact we're looking for. And no, I'm not talking about a fancy college education. If you have that, great. But your background or experience, whatever it may be, can be your biggest asset. But I can also tell you, nearly 25 years after graduation, in a career filled with mistakes and misdirection, that there is zero correlation between how much education or experience you have and how much money you can make. That is, unless you know how to put it together in a system that works. Now I'm standing here at the Van Wickle gates, and when you go to school here, you go through these gates exactly 2 times. Once, when you're a freshman, you enter the gates at convocation. Second, when you graduate, you walk through the gates at commencement as a celebration of the journey that lies ahead. Now, when I graduated, I was so full of hope and promise and honestly a bit too much confidence about how my life and career would turn out those early years. I couldn't wait to storm through these gates and get on with the money making, the success, and the happiness that I'd been assured my whole life would be in front of me. I had done my part, and now it was time for my reward. And now I'm back at Brown over 2 decades later with a very different perspective than when I graduated. As NCAA college basketball coach John Wooden, a guy who has more championship rings than anybody in history, once said, "It's what you learn after you know everything that really counts." And so the title of this series is really What I Know Now. And of course, that starts with how much I didn't know. Now, I used to give tours when I was here at Brown. So while we're going to give you the strategies and nuggets you can put to use right now in your business to build more leads, create better products, and have more sales, I'm also going to show you around. And in the process, I'm going to give you something that I think will ultimately have even more value to your life and your business. And that is perspective, which can be your greatest problem-solving tool. So come with me and let's head to the first stop on our journey. I'm standing outside the economics department, Robinson Hall, which was built in 1878. Now, to be clear, I didn't go to school here in 1878. That's when the building was constructed. But seriously, I minored in economics when I was here. And when I first started my own business, I thought I had it mastered. After all, I had an Ivy League degree. I had 18 years of experience as the Vice President of Content and Product Development with one of the leaders in the space, Anthony Robbins. I had several corporate consulting contracts with big businesses. And I had a relationship with the top internet marketers who were not only getting consistent results, they were making 7 figures and living a lifestyle that gave them a lot of freedom. So to me, ramp up in my business meant that my first product launch might do a few $100,000, maybe $1 million, but even if it only did a few $100,000, surely it was only a matter of time, a short time, before that became 7 figures or more. Now, don't get me wrong, I was scared to take the leap. And if I'm honest with myself, it was my fear of what would happen if I didn't succeed that probably kept me from diving in sooner. And it was so much easier to hide behind the safety net of my corporate position, where I not only had the status and influence, but I had the sure paycheck. But I knew I had a message I wanted to share. I wanted the freedom and flexibility that having my own business would give me. And so when my kids were born and my mom became sick, that was the leverage I needed that led me to action. So here's how it went. I had no plan, no list, and no working capital. I had no idea who my ideal prospects and customers were. I had no marketing system, and I didn't have any of the resources at my disposal that I had as an executive in a big company. But I did have one thing: big expectations about how my first product launch and how my first year would go. So I'll spare you the details, but suffice it to say, we sold 23 units of our product at $297 that first year. After all was said and done, our business had lost $1,542. Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist, a PhD in economics, or even a highly qualified CPA to tell you you're not going to be in business for very long with those kinds of revenues and margins. That was when I learned there's a big difference between economic theory and economic reality. I didn't learn that here. And yet, if you would have asked me at the time, I would have told you I was completely confounded as to why my product didn't sell more than it did. I mean, it was great content. It's still great content. So why on earth didn't it sell? Let's go inside and see what we can find out. Well, look who's here. Hey, Jeannie, how are you?
Hey, Pam, it's great to see you.
Great to see you.
It's fun to be in a classroom again.
It's been a while for me. Listen, I want to ask you some questions if that's okay.
Awesome, let's talk.
Great. This is Dr. Jeannie Hurlburt, my business partner and marketing roadmap. Now, Jeannie has a PhD in sociology. She spent 25 years in academia teaching social science and marketing students how to read people's minds with surveys, and also running a survey research lab at Louisiana State University where she taught and did research. Now, Jeannie is an absolute genius when it comes to knowing that first most important step for any business to be successful, and that is understanding who your customer is with laser-like precision. And also then being able to take that information and target exactly what it is they want. Now, she'll show you why that's so important in a moment. And you'll also hear how Jeannie used her secret sauce to point out a potentially fatal flaw in my marquee product. So Jeannie, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much, Pam. I'm thrilled to be here. But you know what? When I first came out of academia, I was ready to show people all of this, and I thought this was just going to be easy. I was going to have all this impact, and it didn't quite work out that way. They didn't exactly beat a path to my door at first. And the reason wasn't that I didn't have something good to give them, because I did. But the problem was I wasn't able to show them how what I did and what I could offer could solve their biggest problems that they were facing. I couldn't show them why it mattered, and if you can't do that, you're not going to be able to make the impact or the income that you really want.
So how did you figure that out? How did you go from having this great idea to making it work in your business?
Well, here's what's interesting. You know, I have all this science and 25 years and a PhD and all that stuff, but what really unlocked it for me was going back to my father and what I learned from him. See, my father was a country banker in a town of 200 in a county of 9,000 in northeastern North Carolina, and we made Mayberry look absolutely metropolitan. We were so tiny. But my father knew everybody in that community, from the struggling farmer to the car dealer to the physician. And he really took the time. I remember tagging along with him as he'd shake hands with people and look them in the eye. He took the time to really know who they were. I can remember one man saying that my father gave him a mortgage when no other bank in the area would take a chance on him so that he could build a house for his family. Now, the reason that my father knew when to take a chance and when not to take a chance was because he knew the people. He took the time and the trouble. So my father knew that you can't serve people well if you don't know them well. And that's what made him so successful in business. See, my father had what we now call business intelligence. We just didn't call it that back then. And so my aha moment was when I suddenly remembered why he was able to matter, why he was able to make a difference, because he knew how to connect with people and he knew who they were. Once I got that, I was able to change everything in my business.
And that's really the first step of what we do here in Marketing Roadmap. And this is so important because I remember when I first started working with you, I thought I knew who my market was, right? And I had gone through the trainings and I had done what I thought I was supposed to do, which was go through these exercises to figure out my ideal customer, right? You know, and I would figure out who I like to work with and who got the best results from the things I was doing, and created an avatar that I was really excited about. But as you taught me, that's a great first step, but it's not enough. And I was missing the second two steps, which you taught me, which were number one, is I didn't have a roadmap. So you taught me how to do it with so much precision and accuracy that instead of being close, it was a dead-on hit, and that's when everything changed. But the second thing, and even more importantly than that, I think, was you showed me how to take that information and connect it to what really matters, which is the marketing and sales.
And that's really the whole secret. And what frustrates me is I see people who know they need to know their market. We all know that. And so one of two things happens. Either they don't do anything to try to figure out who their target market is, or they try and they fail because they don't have that roadmap. They don't know how to do it precisely. And so what we've learned to do with Marketing Roadmap and what we're helping customers to do is to get beyond that, put the monster back in the closet and do something very precisely. Just have one simple thing: to understand what the core problems of your market are, or the core goals that your folks want to achieve. Now you take that big amorphous thing, you turn it into something simple, but something elegant and really powerful that will let you connect with your market, and that makes an enormous difference. You know, when we've done this process with our customers, it's really changed the game.
And we see this in product development all the time. You know, it's where you create your product or service and you're excited about it. It's great content. You know it's going to make a difference for people or for your audience. But here's what happens is so many people do this. I did it when I first started out. They go about it completely backwards. and they create the product or service and then go and figure out who the market is. And they think they know this. So a lot of times it's when you try to sit down and have that conversation, it's a little bit of the I'm not listening because I know who my product or service is for because I just created it. And it's just the problem is it creates that little bit of a disconnect. Or the other thing that happens is you get the whole famous, my product is for everyone, I'm here to help everyone, and it's not specific enough where they can really target and have the result that they're looking for. And the great thing is, it's not about having to redo your product entirely. You can use the product that you already have. It's just a tweak in the messaging up front, and it's a tweak in how you're putting your product out and maybe some of the frames or the way you're describing your product so it can have that connection.
That's right. And the reason that having your product for everyone doesn't work is because you can't connect with everyone. You can't talk about all the problems that everyone has because it's too broad and they're too diverse. You got to narrow it down so you can talk about a core set of problems that they have that you can solve. And a lot of what you have to do is you have to fall in love with your product. That's great, but then you have to fall in love with your market. And you do that by understanding who they are and what they need and really beginning to connect and resonate with them. Then you can make a difference with a specific group of people that you know how to help because you know what their core problems or their core challenges are.
And there's a term for this in sales, right? It's called crocodile sales.
Yes.
And I know Jeannie's from Louisiana, and they have crocodiles there, right?
They have alligators.
Okay, so alligator sales, crocodile sales. But the point is, alligators, crocodiles both, they have very big mouths and teeny tiny ears, right?
Right.
So that means they do a lot of talking and not a lot of listening, which is like a lot of salespeople, right? They go into a company and they've got their talking points and they go in and they present, but they're not really listening.
What happens is when crocodiles or alligators go under the water, they close the little slits that are their ears because they don't want to get water in them, right? Well, that's what business owners are doing. So they're sitting around and they're waxing poetic and thinking about what they think their customers want or need instead of going out and asking their customers what they want or need. Their ears are closed. And what happens then is if you've been sitting in a room isolated from your customers trying to think about what they need, then you start this big diatribe about here's what you want and need, and you have talking points you regurgitate over and over and over and over thousands of times. They don't want to hear that. They want to have a dialogue with you. They want you to do what my father did and connect with them.
And you have a term for that, right?
That's right, and we call it the erosion of connection. That the thing that should be most fundamental in our businesses is getting more and more and more difficult to do. We can't get that kind of connection that my father had. Even if you're not in the same physical space with people, even if you can't shake hands with them and look them in the eye, you can still have connection with them, but we're having a hard time achieving that. So in addition to the erosion of connection, we're also seeing the erosion of trust. We did a survey in an industry recently, and what we discovered was that in that industry, when we talked to the customers, 2/3 of them, 66%, said that most of the business owners in that industry couldn't be trusted. It was just a standard trust question that we use, which says, do you think most of them can be trusted, or do you think you can't be too careful in dealing with them? And they chose you can't be too careful in dealing with them. 2/3 of the people in that.
Wow, and imagine how that would change your communication to your audience if you know that they're coming from that place. And most businesses probably don't have a clue that that's the case, but if you knew that, think about how differently you would message things and communicate and have that relationship and interact with your market. That's profound.
That's right. And so what happens is if you're in that industry, you have a big wall that you have to get over, but if you don't know that wall is there, you can't scale the wall. And so what happens is you have to figure out how to turn the erosion of connection into the power of connection. And the way that you do that is to understand what the 5 core problems of your market are, or to identify what the 5 goals are that your market wants to achieve. Now think about what we just did with that. We're not talking about the big green monster of knowing your market. We're talking about something very specific, figuring out what the core problems are that they want to solve, or what the core goals are that they want to achieve.
So take this one step deeper, if you would, and give us an example. I know there's 2 trends you were telling me about that I think are so important for people to understand.
That's right. There are 2 trends that we're seeing with business owners. And the first thing that we're seeing out there is overwhelm. We're seeing that across businesses and across industries. And
I relate.
We all relate. But here's what's important about overwhelm. Chances are, whether you're doing B2B, which is business to business, or you're doing B2C, which is business to consumer, If you feel overwhelmed, the people you're marketing probably feel overwhelmed as well. And you've got to take that into account. You've got to figure out how to get past that overwhelm with them. And usually that means simplifying things. People are overwhelmed when they don't have a clear sense of priority. So you've got to help them get through that. And then the second thing that we're seeing, the second big trend, is the erosion of trust. So the trust erosion is not just in that industry that I just talked about. The trust erosion is more general in American society, because surveys are showing that about over 60% of Americans in many surveys are saying they don't trust institutions, they don't trust the government, they may not even trust the person next door. If people don't trust you, they're not going to buy from you. So you've got to figure out how to combat the overwhelm and how to build trust. Those are two really important trends. And remember, all we did to find that out was to go out and ask good questions. And once you have that kind of information, you can deal with these problems more effectively.
That's great. So if you would take this concept of 5 core problems and talk a little bit about what that means and how to drill that down, and then we'll give an example of that.
All right. So when we're talking about the 5 core problems, we're talking about very simply just going out there and being able to figure out either what are the things they want to solve most urgently, or what are the goals that they want to achieve. Now, it might be 3 or 4, but 5 works really well. It's not a big deal what the number is, but the important thing is figuring out what they are. And once you know that, you have this amazing tool that most of your competitors probably won't have. And research shows that being able to differentiate yourself in the marketplace is the biggest predictor of business success. Now you've got something that's really going to set you apart. But it's going to do more than just set you apart from your competitors. Just stop for a minute and think about how powerful it would be to be able to go out and say, these are the problems that I know you have, and here is the solution for those problems. Nobody else is telling them what their problems are. Nobody else is showing them how to solve them. And what's going to happen at that point is they're going to be amazed, they're going to be delighted, and they're going to be absolutely devoted to you.
Isn't she great? Now here's what really brought this message home for me. This past year, I realized what's wrong with my marquee product creation training, Make, Market, Launch It. Now, that might seem like a really weird thing to say, that there's something wrong with the program I still hang my hat on. It's a product I developed with Mike Koenigs that walks you through the 7-step formula for making money with your ideas. And even after 2 incredibly successful launches with our members creating products and making money, living the lifestyle they wanted, so many amazing letters and success stories, what we found was that there was still a missing ingredient. And I don't want to admit this. I'd rather just say the product was perfect. But here's what our best customers told us. Once they had the program, created their product, and they had the income they wanted, they had on-demand revenue, built their list, and had a following. After they added this ingredient, their results skyrocketed through the roof, and they were able to work less in the process. And the reason I found out about this missing ingredient is because of the same process Jeannie just shared with you. Now, there was nothing wrong with the original Make, Market, Launch It in this scenario. We just weren't communicating as effectively as we could with our members. And when you have this missing ingredient, you can use this distinction for yourself to attract more leads, to better market an existing product if you're struggling to figure out how to maximize it, or to eliminate some of that overwhelm because you're on point. This is what gives you that X-ray vision, so you can directly connect your message, your content, your products and services to the things your prospects want most. Our problem wasn't with the product. It was that we didn't have a system and a process to not only understand who our prospects really were, but to be able to quantify it in a way that we could communicate it. And once Jeannie helped us figure this out, here's what we did the second time around, just by asking a few questions. And in working with her, what we realized is that what mattered most wasn't so much the answers to those questions, but what we did with those answers. And that's what makes this so different from so many people who talk about surveys or gathering information. It's about the right questions that lead to the right message. In fact, let's have Jeannie share what happened.
Sure, Pam, thanks. Well, we discovered 5 core problems in the Make, Market, Launch It market that you didn't really know about before. And because you didn't know about them, you couldn't use that critical information to connect with your prospects. So here are the problems that were hiding in plain sight. First, we discovered 34.9% of the Make, Market, Launch It customers had been in business for 20 years or more. And their big wound was not making money that was commensurate with their experience. So here's what Pam and Mike Koenigs added to their message. And remember, all we did to unlock this was ask a simple question that got the information to let Pam and Mike connect with their audience.
Now, you may have been in business for 10, 20 years or more. You've had idea after idea, but you know in your heart that you haven't hit the big home run you deserve. The great news is finally there's an answer and a proven way to turn your ideas into money, leave a lasting legacy, and get off the hamster wheel of trading time for money.
We discovered that 30%, almost a third, of the Make, Market, Launch It customers sold their current products for less than $100. So once we knew that, here's what Pam and Mike said.
We'll show you how to take a $90 product and turn it into a $900 oil well that pays you over and over again.
Again, all we're doing is asking simple questions and using the answers to unlock the market. The next thing we found out was 45.9% of the Make, Market, Launch It customers said they had fewer than 500 people on their list. So Pam and Mike said,
if I could do it in less than a year with no list, no product, and really starting over from scratch after building a 20-year career, I knew we were onto something, a system that others could also use to do the same thing.
Next, we discovered that 50%, half of the Make, Market, Launch It customers already had a product. That was huge because up till now, Pam and Mike had really only been talking to the people who hadn't created a product yet. But the program was designed for both groups, to make products from scratch, to maximize and do better with products you already have, either one. So here's what Pam and Mike said.
Or you may be in a situation where you already have a product and you know you could offer it for a lot more and to a larger audience.
We discovered we had a lot of people over 40, particularly baby boomers. So here's what Pam and Mike said to that demographic.
As time went on though, I knew there was more for me. Maybe you can relate. I loved my job, but I desperately wanted to share what I knew with other people. And the big problem was that I was too scared to take that leap of faith and actually do it. I'd built up a pretty nice career and I was afraid to risk all that. But I also knew if I never took that leap, I'd always live with the regret of never having tried.
And here's the key. All those were things that were already built into their Make, Market, Launch It system, but they just weren't communicating those things effectively. Now just pause for a second. You see how easy that was? You see how this simple information paved the way for a $1.2 million product launch. It was just a matter of asking good questions, then using that information to start a dialogue with the market. A dialogue that connected with them because now Pam and Mike knew what to say to them.
And for you, you can do this too. You really can. This was just a small tweak in our messaging, but it yielded a huge difference in our results. And they're all things that relate to the biggest problem or pain that these people had. See, you have to know who your core customer is, but then you've got to be able to drill that down into an understanding of what their problems are. When you understand the 3, 4, 5 core problems of your market and you can speak to them, it's a gigantic difference in results. Because this time, walking into our launch, we had 5 clear talking points. It still felt conversational and personal because it was, but we had these talking points we knew we were going to cover. And it literally doubled our results. Not only for us, but because we got more people in the program, we helped hundreds more people create, launch, and maximize products that helped them make more money, make a difference, and build a legacy that was really important to them. And they got to do it on their terms. Fathers who were finally able to be home with their families. Families who were able to pay off debts or care for family members or go on that vacation they always had dreamed about. The key was being able to define the 5 core problems and get the answers to those core questions, which led directly to our marketing, which led directly to our results. And here's the thing, when you can do that, when you can look right into the mind of your prospect and see exactly what their problems are and deliver that message back to them, they're gonna say, wow, that's for me. And they're gonna buy what it is you have. It doesn't matter what the price is. 9 times out of 10, if you have a product or service that isn't selling, or you're not making the money you want in your business, it's because your message is off. You're not directly addressing these core problems. Imagine how it would feel to know beyond a shadow of a doubt what the core problems of your prospects were and how to solve them. So they'd pay you virtually any amount of money to get their problem solved. You can have incredible impact with that kind of insight. Welcome to my home in San Diego, California. We'll head back to our tour at Brown in the next video, but let's wrap up this first video so you can start to put it to work. Now, when I graduated from Brown and moved to San Diego, I went to work for Anthony Robbins. In case you don't know who he is, Tony is the leader in personal and professional development for over 35 years. He's a #1 best-selling author, an entrepreneur, and a peak performance strategist. And he's created hundreds of products and programs that help people improve their personal and their business lives. Now, when I first started working for Tony, I thought of it as a temporary stopover, and I ended up there for 18 years. And it was completely ironic. I used to tease Tony about it, that I went to work for the one person who couldn't care less about my Ivy League education. Tony wanted results, and I respect him tremendously for that, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters in your business, results. Now, it was an amazing experience because I got to be at the front and center of all of the content and products created while I was there. But I'll let you in on a little secret. The first 16 years I was there, even though I knew it was important, I was so intimidated by this concept of marketing, I wanted nothing to do with it. In fact, whenever anybody in the company would come to me with a marketing question, I would give them that devil look and say, "That is not my department. Marketing is across the courtyard down the hall to the left. We are content and product development." Pretty naive back then, wasn't I? It was around that time that Tony also decided that he wanted to transition some of what he was doing in marketing into the company and incorporate some of the newer online models that were working out there. So when he came to me for help, I felt completely overwhelmed and out of my league. So we invited some of the top online marketers into our company for a meeting, and it was awesome. These are people who are producing incredible results, having a great impact in their marketplace, and what was cool was they were also fans of Tony. They were using some of Tony's work to help them build their businesses. So it was a really awesome synergy, and as I listened to the meeting, I became fascinated. I mean, you couldn't have a group of marketers be more different on the surface. But when it came to their approach to business, product creation, and marketing, they were exactly the same. In fact, we took a picture of that first meeting at the company that day, and I'll put it up here on the screen for you. You can see it's an amazing group of leaders. And that's me over in the corner trying to sneak my way into the picture with all those bigger-than-life personalities. And as I started working in marketing, I learned so much. Now, it's mind-boggling what I didn't know and what I screwed up. I mean, technology blunders, copywriting mistakes, I overcomplicated offers, you name it, I did it. But I learned as I went, and thankfully everyone was really patient with me, and we were able to produce tremendous impact and results. And it was the start of what became a beautiful collaboration. Now, this entire experience was so powerful for me for two reasons. First, I was focused on the wrong things. I was so intimidated by the concept of marketing, I didn't understand that marketing is nothing more than conversations with people. It just has to be the right conversations with the right people at the right time. Second, it's not about knowing every little detail and trying to perfect that in your business. In fact, so much of what we think matters in our businesses just doesn't. Yet we drive ourselves crazy thinking we have to master every little thing in order for our businesses to be successful. And my career took a sharp turn after that experience because I began focusing on marketing in a different, new, and exciting way. And I was ready for it because I finally had my head screwed on straight that content, product, marketing, and sales are all connected. So our hope is that with what you know now, you can take a deep breath and approach your business in a way that's going to give you a lot more freedom and a lot better results, which isn't only about having the money, but the impact that you'll have on your customers and the lifestyle that you'll enjoy as a result. Now, we covered a lot of ground in this video, so let's do a quick recap. First, we talked about the fact that there's a way to take your message, story, and experience, get paid a lot more, and live the non-retired lifestyle that allows you to have a lot more fun and time off too. Then Jeannie shared the two big dangers facing businesses today, overwhelm and a lack of trust. And she talked about how to solve them by honing in on the 5 core problems of your prospects and customers. And finally, we showed you how to translate that knowledge into the 5 simple marketing messages that can literally double your results. Now, to help you implement what we've shared with you here, we've provided a tool for you. Download your special report, Your Marketing Roadmap Made Easy. This will help you do what Jeannie did for me, which is gain that all-important clarity about who your ideal customer is so you can create that deeper level of connection with them. And then we show you how to transform this into your core marketing message. Now, before you go, we want to get to know you. Please leave us a comment right below this video and tell us about you, your business, and what your biggest goals are. Let us know how you can use what you learned here in your business to reduce overwhelm and make more money while working less. We read all of your comments and will respond to as many as we can. Of course, if you found this video useful, we'd also love you to please share it with your colleagues and friends. Now in the next video, I'm going to head back to our tour at Brown University, and we're going to uncover the next 3 steps in the system. They're really simple because once you have this clear foundation of who your customers and your market are, the rest falls easily into place. And I'll give you a hint. If you've ever suffered from what I call random acts of content, it's that craziness where you wake up in the middle of the night and think, goodness, I haven't put out anything on Facebook or my social media accounts in a while. Or you get hit with that nagging feeling that you need to be doing something with your list, your content, or your products, but you're not. That problem is about to be solved because I'm going to show you how to massively simplify your content and your marketing strategy, how to create the products that your market really wants and needs and therefore will buy. And we're going to give you a simple system so you no longer struggle with the frustration of not knowing what to do when. So the most important message we want to leave you with today is the days of banging your head against the wall are over. The days of feeling like you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off are done. There's a way to build your list, attract better customers, and convert more sales without it driving you crazy and taking over your life. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in the next session. And this video will be packed with valuable ideas and tools, so please keep an eye out for it in your inbox. You don't want to miss it. So leave your comments below. We're excited to get to know you, and we can't wait to see you in the next video. In the meantime, as always, make it a great day. Bye for now.